So today is actually not Wednesday. Today is Thursday. And so this is my Wellness Wednesday on Thursday. I have kind of gotten out of the habit of getting my Wellness Wednesdays up at all. And also on Wednesdays. Lindsay and I, if you guys don't know, Lindsay Murphy and I do a coffee chat, and we had it on Tuesdays for quite a few months. And we just recently switched it over to Wednesdays because of homeschool scheduling conflicts. And Wednesdays just seem to work better for us. So I have my coffee chat Wednesday morning with Lindsay, and I was like, well, I could just put 2 videos up, have the live and a Wellness Wednesday, but I kind of like spreading them out over the week a little bit more. So I may start posting them on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays. But then I'm like, do I still call it Wellness Wednesday? Because Wellness Thursday just does not have that ring to it. Anyways, all of that is going through my mind. If you guys have any brilliant ideas of names of what this could be called for Thursdays, that would be great. But then at the same time, it also makes me sad because I've been doing Wellness Wednesdays for years. So anyways, working through all of that, but here I am. I decided not to let that stop me from actually putting up a video. How silly would that be? Element is the sponsor of today's video. Element is my favorite electrolyte supplement that I use every single day. It has a science-backed ratio of electrolytes in it. It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which sounds like a lot, but especially on a keto and carnivore diet, you really do need to keep track of your sodium. You can lose it really, really fast when you're not eating all of those carbohydrates that retain the sodium. And of course, you can lose lots of sodium through exercise if you're an athlete. But even if you're not an athlete, it's really important, especially on a keto or carnivore diet, to keep your sodium in check. They also have 200 milligrams of potassium and 60 milligrams of magnesium. And they did a lot of work figuring out this science-backed ratio of electrolytes that's good for everyone from the athlete to the stay-at-home mom like me. Right now, Element has a special deal for all of my viewers. If you want to get a free sample pack, it looks like this. It has all 8 of their regular flavors in there. It's a great way to try them all out before you commit to a box. All you have to do to get the free sample pack is use my link and place an order on their website for anything. My link will be down in the description, also up here on the screen. It is drinkelement.com/indigo. drinklmnt.com/indigo. Just follow that link, place your order, and you will get your free sample pack. And don't forget that Element always has a full money back guarantee, no questions asked. So you can always feel confident trying it out with no risk. So it is today, the 21st of September, and before September started, I shared with you guys my September reset challenge, whatever, where I was just going to go dairy free, cut out, more treat-like things like stuff, especially with nuts and peanuts and things like that. And I have done a few What I Eat in a Day videos talking about that. I also, in one of those What I Eat in a Day videos, showed you how I was not staying 100% strict, not necessarily trying to do a medical elimination diet. I've done those many, many times, and I've learned a lot through them. This, for me, was more of a mind reset, or like getting out of habits. Sometimes we can get into habits like snacking on certain things. For me, it was like snacking on cheese and things like that. And so I really, what this month has done for me is just break those habits, and they can be broken, but it does take a little bit of effort. And so, just having something like a reset where you're like, I'm intentionally going to do this, and I know it's not going to be very fun, but it's going to, it's going to break some of those habits. So I have done that, that with that being my main intention for the month. I'm happy that I did do that. Like I told you guys about how I had gotten into eating sweet pork rind cereal, which, oh my gosh, that is like crack for me, apparently. Not that I've ever tried crack, but I imagine it's like sweet pork rind cereal. That's what I imagine it's like. And so I'd gotten into the habit of having that more often than I should. And I was able to break that habit. Thankfully, getting out of the habit of just reaching for cheese when I was feeling like I just needed a little something, but cheese was the only thing that sounded good, which, obviously means I didn't really need something. It was just that I wanted something. So just kind of intentionally not doing those snacking habits and kind of breaking that has been really good for me. So success for the reset on that front. But what I did notice, which was kind of annoying to me, is that I just have been thinking about food way too much this challenge, this reset. And I've been trying to figure it out and trying to pinpoint why. I was thinking that if I cut out the dairy and, the more snacky foods, that I would think less about food. Like after the few days of adjusting, I felt like I would kind of break some of those addictions or whatever you want to call them. And, without having those more addictive foods, I would think less about food. And I actually found it to be the opposite, where the food that I was eating, it just didn't fully satisfy me. And I just found myself annoyed. I found myself constantly trying to look in the fridge, and letting myself get too hungry because the food that I was allowing myself to eat wasn't something that I really wanted to eat. And so I think overall it's good that, I can learn to wait until I'm hungry to actually eat something, even though it's not the thing that I'm really excited to eat. You kind of learn your hunger better. But taking enjoyment in the foods that I eat is actually really important to me. I think it's actually good for my health to, get pleasure from the food I'm eating. And so to narrow down my food list like that, it was harder to, get that pleasure from it. And like I said in the beginning, taking breaks from that is fine, and good. And I'm glad that I did it. But I was just annoyed at how much my mind was consumed by thinking about food. Whereas when I do have some dairy and other things like that, I don't tend to think about foods. So for some people, it's like they have one bite of something, whatever it is that's their trigger, and it makes them obsess about that food. For me, it felt like kind of the opposite. Not having it made me more likely to obsess about it. And I've heard people talk about abstainers versus moderators, and abstainers, they're like the ones that if they have a bite, they'll obsess about it and end up, eating too much or be tempted to at least. And then moderators tend to feel too restricted if they abstain. And I'm wondering if I have a little bit of that moderator tendency these days, because I feel like I've gone through different phases of being moderator versus abstainer. And I know my husband, he tends to be more of the moderator, where he doesn't really struggle with the urge to way overeat sweets or things like that. He can easily eat one serving of something, or even less than a serving, or take a couple of bites and be like, it's not that great, and move on. And for him, I know that going super strict and really abstaining from everything, it would mess with his mind more than just being able to allow himself the moderation. And I kind of think that maybe I have moved a little farther towards that as I have addressed my nutrient deficiencies and different things like that. I think that really changed my appetite. And so I am not so much of an all or nothing person. If I take one bite of brownie, I have to eat the entire pan of brownies, or, I think my body is not screaming to me for nutrients anymore. And I don't have that reaction as often to overconsume when I taste something. So that's like a physiological change, I feel like. And I think because of that, like those mental changes are maybe like following it. I don't know. I'm trying to figure all this out out in my head as I'm going through this. So it has been eye-opening. And as I've been thinking about the reset and then like my diet before and the reset, and if there's any like permanent changes I want to make that's different from, the way I had been eating before. Because I kind of thought that going into this, I would cut out these foods. And, if, for example, I started dropping a whole bunch of weight and felt really incredible, I'd be like, well, then maybe I do need to cut out dairy forever. Like maybe it is really affecting me. But what I found was it really didn't make me feel better physically. And then mentally, like I said, it made me feel a little bit worse, like just thinking about food too much. But it ended up like my weight didn't start dropping. So when I went dairy free before a couple years ago, I both started dairy free and like lean days or close to PSMF days at the same time. And I dropped weight so fast. It just kept going down. And I had in my mind, like, was it more the PSMF days or was it more the dairy free? And I do think it was the combination of both. I think if I really, really wanted to drop a lot of weight, doing both of those things would be important. But I was like, well, if I just go dairy free, am I gonna, drop some weight? Like, was that a big part of the reason I dropped a bunch of weight before? And I kind of think that the dairy free, while it was important and a piece, I think it was a smaller piece than the PSMF days. So like I had that in my mind. Like I'm really curious because if I started dropping a bunch of weight and I felt really amazing, then it would be more worth it to me to cut out the dairy. But since I really didn't, like that's not going to be a permanent change. I do think it is important for me to recognize and to accept that it is easy to overeat calories. And we all know this. Like this is something that I knew. It's not like it's news, but having it drilled in through experience oftentimes really helps to remember things and to apply things. That it's just super easy to eat a ton of calories when you're adding sour cream and cheese and heavy cream. It's like, it's just easy. And just being aware of that without having to completely cut it all out, but just being aware that that is the tendency. I can use that information moving forward, to my advantage where I just am mindful of it and not dumping cheese on everything or sour cream on everything. I think that's just wisdom. And I'm at the point now, I feel like where I don't have to cut it all out 100% in order to make progress on just being more mindful and having less of it, I think. We shall see moving forward. So all in all, it has been good, but not something that I'm planning on repeating anytime soon. It did help me like stretch myself as far as recipes and just using different recipes and techniques that I hadn't been using because, dairy is an easy crutch to fall on as far as taste. So, like I did some egg white crepes. I did using coconut milk to make soup creamy is actually really delicious. And, when you first taste it, you're like, oh yeah, I can taste a little bit of coconut. But for me, like I don't notice it after a while and it just tastes creamy. And I don't miss the heavy cream or half and half or whatever at all. And so just reminding myself of those little techniques and things that I can add in, whether I'm having a little bit of dairy in my life or not, that has been good. Just to kind of stretch myself a little bit. So that has also been positive. And really that is my major update. No incredibly groundbreaking weight loss or anything like that. It's just been a overall positive experience, a little bit different than I expected, but overall positive. even though it was annoying at times. Certain aspects were annoying. And I do have at least one What I Eat in a Day video still coming of, you know, the reset foods. But as we move into October, which is what, only 9 days away, you will see, you know, me going back towards, you know, dairy products and stuff like that, but hopefully being just a little bit more mindful about when and how much I have of the dairy. Let me know if any of you guys who were doing any kind of a reset or challenge for September, let me know how it turned out for you, if it was what you expected or you learned something that you weren't expecting. I would love to hear that down in the comments. Thanks for hanging out on this Wellness Thursday. Also, let me know down in the comments if you have any brilliant ideas for my Wellness Wednesday/Thursday conundrum. I would love to hear your ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.